Hi there, LinkedIn, and if you're watching on YouTube, on our brand new YouTube channel, a very big welcome to episode 2 of The Biz Live, sponsored by DCW Group. So I'm very pleased to say we have Sarah Brooks, our co-producer, beaming in live from her very posh virtual background. We've worked very hard this week getting the green screen ready. How are you doing, Sarah Brooks?
I am good, thank you. I'm good, and hello to everybody watching us today.
We've got a great show lined up. This is the second episode, and for those of you who are watching for the first time, we have been very lucky to receive accreditation by LinkedIn to stream live on a brand new part of the platform. It's the world's biggest business website, of course, called LinkedIn Live. Surprise, surprise. Look out for that hashtag and you'll see some other great shows going in and going on around the world. I've noticed in the comments that Preeti from India has chimed in. She's a top Indian influencer, so really good to have you watching with us today. Thank you so much. So if you are chiming in from abroad today in particular, please do introduce yourself in the chat. And if you're here in the UK, please introduce yourself in the chat. And if you're in Bristol, the southwest of England, where we're based here at Origin Workspace, big shout out to the team, then please also introduce yourself into the chat, because we would like to make this a networking show. We wanted to make it fully interactive. And of course, you can connect with other people you can see in the chat, and also introduce yourself, say where you're coming from, what you do, and then hopefully people will connect with you. We want to make this of real value to you, the viewers. Talking of real value, we have an amazing guest in the show today. I've had the privilege of working with Rob before, and without further ado, just to tease it a little bit, he has a new book out. It's called 65 Roses and a Trunkie, but I'm not going to tell you about that because I'm going to let Rob tell you about it in a short while. So he'll be on the show in about 4 or 5 minutes time. We have a talking point, we have a theme, but I'm going to pass you over to Sarah, who's going to tell you much more about it. And once again, a big thank you and a big shout out to Dean and the team at our sponsor for season 1, DCW Group. Over to you, Sarah.
Yes, indeed, Jamie. So our theme for today is innovation and invention, unsurprisingly, with Rob Law as our guest. Inspiring concepts for a Tuesday morning, I think. So the idea or the definition of those concepts, really, this is what we've come up with. Innovation is the process of creating value by applying novel solutions or inventions to meaningful problems. And of course, Rob pioneered a whole new retail category of children's products, filling a gap that people didn't even realize was there. So I'm sure people have got lots of things to say about that. And of course, he's a truly accomplished inventor and innovator.
Tell us about the talking point, Sarah.
So today's talking point is, who do you admire as an inventor stroke innovator, and why? Who do you admire as an inventor stroke innovator, and why? So obviously we accept that Rob is very high up there, but there are other people, I'm sure, who's inspired the people listening today. So we'd love to hear from you. Who have you admired over the years? Someone from way back or someone recently? We'd love to hear from you in the chat.
Great. Well, for those of you who don't know, Sarah is co-producing the show. We worked together for many years. Many years ago, she was volunteering 13 years ago at some of the networking events I ran, and then we ran an expo business together for a whole number of years as well. And so the formation of the show, The Biz Live, is actually part of Evo Networking. So networking is very much part of our sort of history and heritage. So if you're interested in joining a networking group and you're based in the southwest of England or in Wales, then maybe you'd like to consider coming along next week to one of our Evo networking groups. Last week on the show, the first episode with Ajif Jayabrekarema and Alison Edgar, we announced that we are launching 3 new groups. One is called Evo Ultra for CEOs, founders, and innovators. There's that word again, of companies with 5 million plus turnover. So we'll be hopefully finding an amazing group leader and announcing one soon for that and a date. And then we've just launched Evo Proteus as well. That's going to be, you heard it here first, on the 11th of November. That's a lunchtime networking group. If you'd like to find out more, pop your details in, and Sarah, who's co-producing the show and also moderating the chat, will send you some more information, and we'll get back to you after the show. So Evo Proteus launches for the southwest of England, for the whole area. It's online only. It's led by Lindsay Green and Vicky Gardner, 2 amazing business people. and they will be leading the group from the 11th of November. It is weekly on a Wednesday from 12:30 p.m. to 1:45 p.m. AM, 12:30. Should we just say go back to 12:30? Let's call it lunchtime. And that will be a show online only. So it's open to businesses in the southwest of England, or for those who are looking to do business in the southwest of England. Right, that's a bit of a mouthful. So I mentioned we've got a special speaker today. Thank you so much indeed, Sarah, for teeing up today's show. Sarah, are you getting comments in? Can you see them?
We are. We're getting lots of questions, lots of people joining in on the chat. So please do comment on the chat about anything you're hearing. And also, of course, we're looking for your questions. So I've got a few already, but do keep putting them down on the chat.
I remember a few weeks ago when we had the pilot with General Sir Peter Wall, who's an honorary member of EVO, I should add, when he spoke, former Commander-in-Chief, Land Forces and head of the British Army, and now CEO of Amicus. By the time I got to sort of turn my head to ask him a question on the screen, there were over, I think, about 200 comments, weren't there? So, and that was just the pilot. And in case you are watching on the restream, what like LinkedIn does, it reposts it straight away onto the platform. That's where the majority of the people still are able to watch it, but you can still comment and like. So if you are watching, please do give us a thumbs up now. I'd love to see some hearts and thumbs. And if you like the idea of having a chance to ask a question to our special studio guest, Rob Law, MBE, then please give us a thumbs up and pop a question there. Lastly, bit of housekeeping. We've just started a week and a bit ago a new YouTube channel. It takes a while to get it up and going. We can't monetize it yet until you get 1,000 views, subscribers, etc. So if you are watching on YouTube and you're getting value from this, then please do like, subscribe and comment. It will certainly help us in our adventures moving forward. And we have got quite an adventure. We've got some amazing speakers who will be coming to the studio or joining us live over season 1, 2 and 3. Once again, season 1 is sponsored by Dean Ward and his team at DCW Group, who just launched just 2 or 3 weeks ago and have done a huge amount of business in their new business. It's fantastic to see businesses thriving during these more challenged times. Okay, Sarah, so without further ado, I'm going to say a little fond farewell to you. And I know that you'll be moderating and encouraging people to communicate and get some questions. We'll be coming back to you in about 10 minutes time for some questions, if that's okay. Good stuff. Thank you, Sarah. Okay, so this is the part of the show where we introduce our very, very special guest. And it is our second in-studio guest. Last week it was Alison Edgar, the entrepreneur's godmother. And today we have Rob Law, MBE. So we haven't really prepared the questions for this. I just wanted it to be a fact-finding mission. And also a chance for me to learn with you. So remember, if you've got questions, please post them. We're going to have plenty of time to do that. Okay, so let's meet Rob Law, MBE.
Jamie, thanks for having us, and hello to everyone virtually out there joining on this new platform.
Do you like our studio?
Yes, lovely. Yeah, very nice and airy.
It's pretty straightforward. We have got a logo on a very posh and expensive sharp screen over there, but no one can see it. But it feels good to be next to a big, posh £10,000 TV screen with our logo on. And it's really clever. You can sort of touch it and draw on it and stuff. And, you know, it's quite an invention, I would say. So I've got my cue cards here today because I used to work on a show on ITV1 called This Morning. They gave me cue cards, but I had it all in my head. I remembered everything. So I just feel more comfortable holding cue cards. I hope you don't mind.
Could have a prop.
Yeah, exactly. So I was doing some, as a marketeer that I was doing some promotion yesterday for this fireside chat. You know, we're enormously grateful to you. You know, every business is run off its feet at the moment. But I understand that you were speaking at an online conference yesterday, and my friend Inga, and if you're watching Inga Dowden, big shout out to you, one of the best business coaches in the Southwest. She'll be dead chuffed by this, by the way. And she's been a customer for 12, nearly 13 years, and a volunteer at my business networking event. So, and she texted and said, "Oh, I've just seen Rob. Absolutely inspirational. So your reputation precedes you." And I wanted to approach today with a kind of maybe sort of a past, present and future. For those of you who don't know and haven't been to an airport or travel lounge in the last 15 odd years, Rob is the inventor and also the CEO, founder of a company, well, a product called Trunky. And it's the ride-on children's luggage. And I know when we worked together at previous events, you brought on a Trunky, and they come in all different shapes and sizes. But I want to go right back to the near enough the beginning, because to my mind, you're the, if you don't mind me being so bold, you're the most famous reject of a BBC One show in the UK called Dragon's Den. Tell us about that. What happened?
Well, the BBC advertised the episode as wheelie rubbish, so I knew it was going to be pretty car crash TV when it eventually aired. And we actually filmed the show just 2 weeks after I first started trading, so I'd quit my job as a product designer. I'd been on this journey that had taken 9 years from invention, sort of eureka moment at university.
9 years by the point of 2006?
By 2006, from having the idea. The idea was essentially marrying adult luggage with ride-on toys and using a new manufacturing technique to create the product. And I was just getting rejection after rejection from luggage manufacturers who told me I'd invented a toy, and toy manufacturers told me I'd invented luggage, and I just couldn't get anyone to take the product on. Long story short, I decided to go on Dragon's Den, and my Prince's Trust mentor, because I got some great funding from those guys to start with, met the researchers, and I thought, great, it's season. It's like we'd only had 2 seasons of Dragon's Den back then, and I was an avid fan. I need money, I need mentoring, and I need some marketing. Well, I certainly got the latter. And went on the Den thinking there's no way I won't come out of here with a deal. I was asking for £100,000 for 10% of my business. And I left completely empty-handed with some quite vigorous rejection.
I watched a clip again recently, and I think, in fact, it's one of my favourite shows. And I remember the episode, I remember the dragons, and I remember the FIO test. Well, I think it later became known as the FIO test. So walk us through what happened there, because I think it was a prototype. Is that right?
No, it was a final product. The pitch went perfectly, and the dragons were getting quite hands-on with the product, and Theo wanted his turn. So when Trixie, the pink trunkie, arrived at his feet, he started manhandling her, and realised that if you towed the toe strap really hard, the clip bends a bit, and he thought, well, I'll just pull it as hard as I can, and it popped off. It didn't break, it just popped, but it created a point of theatre in the den.
Oh, gosh,
and the dragons jumped on it and lambasted me for having I shouldn't come in here with products that aren't solved fully. And I'm a problem solver by heart, so it's just like, that is such an easy problem to solve, even if it is a problem. You just mold that hook in a different plastic, job done. But they just could not see through the insurmountable challenge of that. And I got told my business was worthless, and Peter Jones was going to knock up trunkies in a factory in China and have them in the market within a matter of weeks, he told me. So I was struggling to see the value the dragons could add.
Right. I mean, there's so many questions which come from that. I think literally my mind's racing now. So there's lots of myths which I've been labouring on, the misapprehension that it was a prototype and all this sort of stuff is actually okay. So first question number one, if that's okay, how did you feel after that? What did you feel? I'm going to show them, or did you feel dejected, and did you lick your wounds and have some time off?
I think it took me from leaving the top of the warehouse, walking down the stairs, and it suddenly dawned on me that journey down the stairs was like, oh, that's really frustrating. I'm leaving empty-handed. I haven't got the deal. What value can the dragons really add? So by the time I got to the bottom of the stairs, Jesus, this is going to go on telly at some point, and it's probably going to ruin the business. Right. So one of the things I've learned over the years of overcoming adversity and challenges is you've really got to focus on the things you can control and try and forget about what you can't. I can't control when this is going to air, so I'm going to solve this problem. It's a problem to be solved. I don't have the solution now, but I'll figure it out. And sure, I might have felt a bit upset that evening in the hotel room, but I quickly shut off that door to self-pity and focused on the future. And it was about, I just launched the business, so I had a lot to do. I had my first international customer was actually the Museum of Modern Art in New York, so I waved the PO to them in the Dragon's Den, but that never made the final edit, and they ordered 650 trunkies.
By the time it aired?
And then we started trading, but actually kind of relevant today, but not so. A couple of weeks after we filmed Dragon's Den, before it even aired, I came home from checking the inventory down in the Avonmouth warehouse. It was the middle of the World Cup in 2006, kind of a German World Cup. Sat down to watch the news and to find out how the game had gone that day. And the presenter was saying that they had thought the Secret Services had foiled a liquid hand bomb threat for the airlines, and there were plans to blow up planes above our skies. And as a result, the government had decided to ban hand luggage. So this is when we first started having to carry those plastic bags with our toiletries in. Yeah. That moment was the summer of 2006, the ramp up to the peak of my first sales season, and my product was banned.
So you had more than a disappointing experience on a network TV show. This is the UK version of Dragon's Den. It was season 3, I think. I knew the cameraman who worked on it back then, actually, and we worked on a show on BBC Two at that point. And I remember, I think it was a very innovative show, but also, tough talking dragons, big characters, success stories themselves. But I do watch the retrospective each year. It's usually a kind of for those who are watching outside of the UK, there's usually a yearly wrap up, usually at the end of one of the seasons. And the dragons, in this case, it would be Peter Jones and Deborah Meaden, usually talk about the one that got away. There's always that feature, and I have to say, I've certainly not watched the last 3 years, and it's always chunky, and they speak. They're really for people who've got they're big characters, big success stories. They're towering titans of industry, of their sector and beyond, and it's really nice to know that they acknowledge that. And they do it so openly. And how does it make you feel if you watch those retrospectives where they go, yeah, the one that got away, Rob Law, we wish,
Well, yeah, it's great that Trunkies really enjoy seeing them sort of slightly apologise. It's hard not to say we've got away, the one that got away, when you see somebody in the airports. So it's a constant reminder to them, and I guess that's quite nice. But yeah, during that travel ban, it was, what can I do? I can try and influence government to change that ban. That's not going to work. I can use my energy wisely and try and focus on what I can control. And that was control my marketing message, which was back then all about air travel. So it was pivoted to staycations and control that overhead cost and just ride through, use that energy wisely to get through to the other side and look for green shoots and opportunities.
Where would you... Well, we had Ajif Jevrikarama on the show. He was our first ever guest, actually, just last Tuesday. And if you're watching, you can watch it back on YouTube. It's archived there forevermore. It's I've known Aj for a number of years. He's a fellow entrepreneur like yourself, and also based in the southwest of England. And he built Turtle Bay and Lassie Granite, and he shared several things. He also shared how much he sold the business for, which was 89 million quid. That was Turtle Bay back in 2015, having already built Turtle Bay. So Lassie Granite he sold for 89 million quid. There were shareholders and other partners and founders and whatnot. But that's incredible. That's a success story. And amidst all that, I asked him, about overcoming adversity, and it touched on what you said. And his suggestion was, well, he had real problems with Lassie Granite, and this is a kind of a chain of restaurants in the UK. And he said, back in the 1990s, people had never heard of, a lot of people hadn't heard of guacamole, but didn't know what it was, And he was really struggling. He thought it was a good idea, but it was really difficult to convince investors and partners and perhaps even the public at one point, right at the beginning, without putting words in his mouth, to actually get this idea, something so new and different. And that's effectively what you're doing with Trunky. So what was the kind of general response? You had 9 years of product design, you went onto the show, you overcame this, I know you overcame the challenge because we're sat here now talking about it, but what was the thing, you knew you had a good idea, clearly you do. What was the thing that kept you having faith? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because if enough people tell you, I don't understand this, there's a certain point where people switch off and you go, I'll try something different. How did you push through what must have been an immense pain barrier?
Well, I think I kind of realised that, the manufacturers were right. It wasn't toy or luggage, and the investors didn't see the opportunity, but actually the customer did. I knew the customer wanted this product, and there was just the challenge of getting the product to the customer. Again, the high street, when I launched, didn't want to touch the product because I was getting passed around different buyers who wouldn't take the risk. So it was literally my own website, which back in 2006 had to be custom programmed to do e-commerce, and local retailers I was hand delivering to. So when I knew Dragon's Den was going to air, I was like, I might have to fold up the business the next day because it's going to be car crash telly, but I know I'll get some web traffic. So how can I use that to my advantage? Well, I'll post a survey up because people are going to be buying Trunkies, but they might give me some feedback and I'll use that to listen to my customers. And that night, over 3,000 people filled in the survey with phenomenal words of support. That last question you always put up in the survey is, leave us any other comments there. Every single person filled that out. Amazing words of support. We sold out, and that was a real turning point and kind of really cementing my vision that the customer did get the product.
So actually, investors, founders, international law, Dragon's Den, experts, actually, when it came down to it, a survey, a simple survey.
Survey Monkey back in the day. Yeah.
Survey Monkey, right. Would you recommend that people do that today, run surveys in business?
Well, I think to have a good product, you've really got to understand your customer, and you can only understand your customer by having a dialogue with them. The trunkie itself is on its 5th version now, so the very first one didn't have carry handles on the top, for instance. So, and then because I designed it for kids to tow along, if they carry bags, it can damage their spine and their growth. So I didn't want them to carry it, but then parents were like, I've got to pick this thing up, put some bloody carry handles on it. So you've always got to listen to your customer, iterate and innovate and get your product as great as it can be. And I think that's not only been proven by selling over 4 million suitcases around the world, but actually we've got over 10,000 reviews across all the Amazon platforms, rating us for 4.6 stars.
Okay, I had to do this last week when Ad said £89 million. Did you just say 4 million suitcases?
Yeah, at the last count.
Congratulations. That's just absolutely staggering, given what you went through. And by the way, couldn't happen to a nicer person. We've met a few times, and you've supported my businesses in the past, other businesses. That's amazing. 4 million suitcases. How does that? Every question's a curveball here. How does that stack up to a global? Let's say, imagine they're still a leader, something like Samsonite or Revelate. I used to sell vintage leather luggage, by the way, at a Camden Stables market for those early customers of mine when I was 17, 18. That's how I funded my way for uni, actually. I restored vintage leather luggage from the 20s, 30s and 40s and other sort of objects like teas, maids and things. That's how I got into the antiques business. But that's another story. So I love luggage. I don't have any children, so I haven't got a trunkie, but I've seen them and I see them all over the world. I forgot my question.
So I guess it was how do I feel about that? I mean, it's just great to know. I mean, we don't make plastic luggage. We make products that allow parents and carers to take their kids off exploring the world. So to enable so many families to go off and travel and for the kids to have that educational experience, that's what it's really all about. And to know that's happened so many times in so many countries around the world, that's really rewarding.
And you, presumably you're in the top 20, top 10 of, well, let's say, I can't say it's across.
The great thing with Amazon is you get ranked within your category. So with kids luggage, we are number 1 in the UK, and we're quite often number 1 in France, often in Germany. It's great. But we're totally focused on kids travel, and most other companies aren't. Well, no one is. We're pioneering this new category, so that comes with its own challenges. But that's our laser focus.
Okay, so you're watching the Beers Live. My name is Jamie Breeze. I'm the host. In the background is Sarah Brooks, our co-producer and moderator. If you've got a question for our very special guest, Rob Law, MBE, we'll ask you about that in a second. Please do post it in the chat. I'm just going to go to the comments and just have a little look. Oh my gosh, 87 already. That's brilliant. There's Paul Harris again. Thank you very much. Jan de Jong, our ex-Scandinavian policeman stroke business psychologist is in the house. Sean Thomas is there. Mark Watts, who's sponsoring season 2 with UMO Finance. There's Philippa. Evo's very own Andrea Sexton, top PR person. There's lots and lots of people chiming in, so don't forget to keep asking your questions. You are watching the Biz Live, and we are here in the studio with Rob Law, MBE. Okay, so my name is Jamie Breeze. If you're watching on replay on LinkedIn Live or our brand new YouTube channel, please do leave a comment. And if you're getting value from today, it would be really helpful if you could like, comment, and subscribe, as they say, those content creators on the interweb on YouTube. So this is the early days. This is season 2. I beg your pardon. This is episode 2, number 1. It's episode. Let's go again. This is. I love lying, don't you? This is episode 2 of season 1, sponsored by DCW Group. We're here in the studio in the United Kingdom with Rob Law, MBE. So, Rob, you're telling us about some of the challenges, the hurdles, the rejection on Dragon's Den, the UK, hugely popular UK show about entrepreneurship and innovation. Today's theme is innovation and invention. Of course, you are an inventor, an innovator, entrepreneur, CEO. What are you?
I'm Trunkie's daddy. That's what I like to be called, or as the industry know me as Mr. Trunkie. But I think although I'm an inventor and an innovator, the challenges I've had of getting this product to market have made me really interested and excited about commerce and really trying to commercialize my product too. So although I'm trained as a designer, I'm essentially a problem solver, and we've had so many problems to try and get the product out to market that's where I also like to spend time. So that's kind of merging marketing and digital e-commerce and just pioneering retail, really.
Pioneering, okay, you're a pioneer for sure, because I think there was nothing like the Chunky when you first came out. I think that's why it really caught people's imagination. So Mr. Chunky Daddy. So we've talked a bit about the past. I'd like to jump forward to the present, if I may. And I know we spoke a few months ago about the book. You spoke at the Evo Annual Congress back in May time, which is an online event for members only. Little plug there for Evo networking. Thank you very much. I think my colleague Paris Troy, the former Heart FM radio interviewer, had a chat with you, and that was an absolute blast. And I think people came away with such inspiration. So here we are. We're in 2020. We're potentially in the beginnings of a second wave of a pandemic. You're in the travel business, I presume. You're in the toy business, and you're in manufacturing. Where are you sitting now with the COVID crisis? I saw you on the news the other day, but tell us a bit about where you sit in that.
Yeah, it was similar to a reaction we had to that hand luggage ban back in 2006. So we saw with our digital data, rate of sale dropped off a cliff in Italy just as they went into lockdown, and we knew that was going to be the rest of Europe at least. So we started planning accordingly, and yes, we've had to cut our overheads, we've had to take advantage of the furlough scheme. We've had to reorganize our business to get through this particular challenge. But the most frustrating point was trying to be relevant to our customers and our core products used for air travel. But we have a whole range of other products. So our toddler range, which are called Toddle Pack, that stop kids running off into the road, have been phenomenally popular because they obviously help social distance overexcited children trying to go up and touch everything. So we have had some products that sold really well during COVID, but yes, it's been quite tough on the suitcases. And it's all about being relevant. So yeah, who would have thought sleepovers would be banned at the start of the year?
Right.
But as soon as that veil lifted and you could start traveling again internally, we were shouting from the rooftops about visiting grandparents, share those incredibly precious moments. And we got so many photos back from our customers sharing that magical moment, meeting grandma and grandpa for the first time for several months with the kids and their trunkies in hand because they're going to stay with them. So that was really rewarding to get through to that point. And yeah, our product's still relevant for traveling in the UK. So yeah, it's shouting about that and encouraging that, and also it's great to see now our Instagram feed, which used to have pictures of kids in airports, is now about kids getting out of the house, traveling on our scooters or our day bags or our reins or whatever it may be, or just playing at home, imagining they're going on holiday with their trunkies.
Did you, as you know, our theme is invention and innovation today. I'm glad you could say it because it's a lot of alliteration today. It's a bit tongue-tied. So invention, did you invent the scooter as well, or do you have a big team working for you? And where do you work out? Are you still based in Bristol, Avonmouth and South West?
Yeah, we're based in Bristol, just behind Temple Meads in an old chapel. We call it the mothership. So it's been done up with a bit of a spaceship theme because that is the ultimate form of travel at the end of the day. And the factory is down in Plymouth where we manufacture the suitcase. So
you manufacture in the UK?
Yeah, we manufacture in Plymouth for the whole of Europe and some other countries too. So
wow, that's somewhat unusual, knowing a few other manufacturing companies based in the UK that you literally produce here. That's incredible. Yeah,
that's a whole nother story of why we did it, and what happened next. It's all in the book.
Okay.
Lots of lessons there to be learned. But
tell us about the book. I mean, 65 Roses. I now know what that. In fact, I said I'm going to do it on there. Please, can you sign my book? Because the minute you texted me saying it was opened and up for sale, and I literally ordered it on Amazon and it arrived the next day.
There you go. There's a little trunky picture.
Picture. Thank you very much.
So yeah, I mean, because I've had to overcome a lot of adversity and a lot of challenges within business, and I do quite a bit of inspirational, motivational business speaking at events. People have always said you should write a book, and on kind of reflection, I decided if I do this book journey, I'd like to probably share a deeper personal story that I have. And that's that I was born with cystic fibrosis, a very common genetic disorder that effectively is a salt imbalance in the body, and that affects your lungs, which can become clogged up, and basically your life just ends up with a deteriorating lung function until they don't work anymore. Your pancreas can't digest fat, and a number of other complications. So children refer to this disease as 65 roses because they struggle with the pronunciation of cystic fibrosis. So I thought if I talk about my personal story and how that's built resilience, I might maybe be able to share tips for not just business people and entrepreneurs, but anyone dealing with personal adversity too. So the book's called 65 Roses and the Truncheon, and kind of starts with a very tragic point in my life when my twin sister, who also had cystic fibrosis, died when she was 16. But that was a life-changing moment. I choose to live life and make the most of it, and a very valuable lesson to get so young in life, although it was a hugely traumatic experience.
In our a few weeks ago, we had a pilot episode of The Biz, and we had General Sir Peter Wall on the show, and the theme was resilience. And when he speaks as a former military leader, people's ears, including mine, sit up, and he had a lot to say on that. And he'll be coming back into the studio at some point to talk to James Short about resilience and much more as well. What you've just described something which for anybody would have been a series of significant heartache and setback. And for those who are watching, and also for me, I'm very curious. What is the thing that kind of, let's say, makes you get out of bed in the morning, to face another day, often presumably filled with challenges, particularly at the moment? What's kept you going? Where does your resilience come from?
That realization that life is short and you've got to make the most of it, and my life will probably be shorter than most, so I need to live life and make the most of it. And a real drive for me at the moment is my 3 kids as well. So I think when things look really bleak, and I got a letter from the NHS because I've got cystic fibrosis saying I'm extremely vulnerable and I shouldn't leave my house. So how do you deal with these kind of things? You kind of just got to take a step back, think about the moment, and basically just be grateful for what you've got. I'm grateful I've been able to have 3 kids through the wonders of medicine, and I've got a garden that they can play in, and I've got a good coffee machine. I mean, you've really got to think, what can I be grateful for? Live and enjoy the weather and get through it, and then you can build up a bit more resilience and a bit more thought about what the future might hold. So that's one of the things I was able to do.
On your book, I notice. Well, let's just dial it back a bit. I don't know when you were given the MBE, but that must have been some experience. Was it Her Majesty who presented you with the award?
Yeah, it was actually at Windsor Castle. So I got this weird random voicemail from the government when I was taking my first holiday after starting the business. So 5 years into the business, I was finally able to take a 2-week break to Cuba. I had this weird voicemail from the government when I finally got hold of what it was all about. They were asking if I was wanting to receive an honour from the Queen. Which I thought, well, that'd be a nice day out for my mum and dad, but didn't really mean much to me at the time. But ever the kind of PR person trying to think where the next PR opportunity could come from, I thought, if I can convince our tiger Trunky to get dressed up as a corgi when we go and visit the Queen, maybe I can show it to her or meet their Queen's dogs or something, and just created an opportunity. And I thought, well, actually, if I go and take this furry suitcase up to the Queen, I'll probably get shocked because they'll think a bomb's in it. So I won't do that, but we'll keep it in the audience, and who knows what might happen. And later on, we're walking around Windsor Castle's gardens and saw the Queen's dog walk in the distance with 4 corgis. So chased her down, and we got some great social media photos of the Trunky corgi meeting the real Queen's corgis.
In Buckingham Palace?
In Windsor Castle.
Yes, of course. Unbelievable. I bet that was a special moment. Did you were you lucky enough to have obviously the experience itself is worth its weight in medals and so forth, but what did you have a photograph with her? Did you
yeah, we've got a photograph with the Queen, and she uttered a few words about, now you make little suitcases. We had a brief chat about that, and it was a phenomenal experience to meet the Queen and for her to give you an honour.
That's something else. That really is something else. Well, look, I don't know. I'm and I knew your story a bit, but hearing it from you face to face is somewhat moving, to put it mildly. I'm amazed at what you've achieved. A think it's probably time to ask some questions of our all the
find
people
out
who are
what
tuned
people are
in.
saying,
So
yeah.
I'm going to bring our colleague Sarah Brooks back in, and needless to say, thank you so much, Rob. Are you okay for another 10, 15 minutes?
That's far away, yeah.
Right, okay. So we're going to come in, Sarah. Hello there, Sarah Brooks. How are you?
Hello. Well,
Okay,
people
so you,
are very inspired by Rob, as you can imagine, on the chat. Got lots and lots of comments coming in. So
Well,
let me go ahead and relay some of those comments, and then I'll ask a couple of questions.
okay, so
The comments that have been coming in from people, try and control the things that you've been saying, Rob, about controlling what you can and how inspiring your story is. And that, the market is constantly changing. It's all about never standing still. And in particular, the idea that life is short and you have to make the most of it, while you can. We've got lots of people who've been very moved by your story. And yes, it's the sort of thing that I think really relates to people as well. Obviously, business is one thing, but what you bring to it and how you deal with it and balance things up. And in fact, Andrea Sexton has asked a question: how do you balance business with spending time with your family?
That's a good question. So through most of my business journey, I've had a business coach, and working with her to not only solve a lot of the business challenges, and in the early days, that was lots of people issues. But then she asked me, what am I doing this all for? I mean, I was running 100 miles an hour trying to build this global brand and giving no thought to what it was all about personally. And that really got me thinking about, well, actually, I want to start a family and I want to spend some meaningful time with that family. So I made some decisions around getting some external finance into the business to build the team up so that I could take a bit more of a step back. And I've been working 3 days a week in the business for the last 4 or 5 years. And that's allowed me to spend some phenomenal time with the family. I've got a 6-year-old, a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old. And that's been phenomenal, and also gave me the opportunity to finally put pen to paper and write the book, and do more public speaking and get involved in some other projects. So yeah, the work-life balance is looking a lot better than it used to.
And Kembia Christodoulou, again on this theme of what is your main motivator to keep going? You mentioned a few things there, but if you could sort of drill it down to one thing, what's the one thing that motivates you to keep going in the face of all of these challenges?
The main motivator is, well, I guess there's different layers, isn't there? So there's the layer that's kind of you can't give up because life's too short. There's the motivator that I'm living life for both myself and my sister. There's the motivator of my kids. There's lots of motivators at different levels, but they all kind of stack up to create quite a lot of drive.
Brilliant. Question here, a more business-focused question. Let's go there. From Mark Watts, what advice would you give to businesses who are trying to forecast financially and non-financially in an unknown environment?
There's no right and wrong. There's just things that work and things that don't. You cannot forecast realistically for this current climate, no matter what sector you're in. You can only have a plan, and you've got to accept that plan will change the day after you've pressed save. So you've just got to build agility and resilience into that plan, and be open to take the business in whichever way opportunities show. So if your back's really against the wall, then you've just got to be rethinking how you can be more relevant to your customers. And I guess you're building plans that can sustain certain overhead. You don't want to be wishful thinking about overachieving those plans and putting that down. You just want a plan that can cover your costs, and anything above that is then cream on the cake.
thank you. What else you got there, Sarah?
Oh gosh, we've got so many questions. It's hard to know where to start. Rob, what's different in the way that this is a question for me. What do you think is different about how you run your business?
Well, I don't really know how other businesses run, but I think from the early days, I've always been interested in delegating. There are people who are much higher skilled than I am at a lot of things. So if I can delegate to more able people, then that can allow me to focus on what I'm really good at, which is around the marketing and the product development and problem solving. And yeah, we've got a lot of problems to solve. So yeah, it's kind of building that great team around you and entrusting them to run the day to day. It's all about people at the end of the day.
I'm pleased to say Martin Roberts, who's a future guest on the show, him of 27 or 28 seasons, let us know in the comments of BBC One's, your favourite channel. I think Dragon's Den was on BBC Two when you back in 2006, but he's joined in and says great chat. So thank you for supporting, Martin. It's really nice to know that you're going to be coming to the studio. We'll be chatting to you at some point. And Martin's also based in the Southwest as well as a property expert from Homes Under the Hammer. He's presented that since 2003. So, Sarah, could you share a few more questions? I can just see there's so much here. This is fantastic.
Yeah. So how about from James Short, who says, how have you been able to protect Trunky from copycat producers?
James is a former 2-star general commanding
right.
British Armed Forces.
Well, that's a couple of chapters in my book, and I'll struggle to wrap that up in 10 minutes. But essentially, you can't patent the idea of a ride-on suitcase. You can patent the way the catches work or the wheels attach, but that doesn't really protect what you've created too much. So I relied on what's called a European design registration that protects the shape of the product. And in the early days, a lot of the copies were just exact knockoffs of ours. So that shape protection really protected us in Europe, and it was a legal document we could rave around in Southeast Asia, and we were able to get rid of a lot of copycats. But then those factories started iterating and trying to make the product not look exactly like our product. And if you could imagine trunkies that are inbreeding and that they live around the Chernobyl area, you can maybe get an idea of what some of these monstrosities start looking like. And yeah, people will copy. The one thing you kind of never get told in business school, I guess, is as soon as you become successful, you will get copied. So we've had lots of people copy us, and they copy the idea on suitcase, but they never copy a brand. It's really, really hard to create a brand and support that brand with a community of loyal customers and brand advocates. So yeah, you can copy a ride-on suitcase, have a go. You're not going to make it much cheaper than ours, but you're not going to have a brand behind it that people really want to aspire to be part of.
Great. We've got time for another three questions or so, Sarah. Yeah. So what have we got here?
So Andrea Worrell asks, how do you feel COVID-19 will change business?
So we're having to go back to basics, and for us personally, it's about invention and reinventing the future. So how can we be more relevant as a brand to our customers in this new climate? So one product that's launching at the end of the month is our antimicrobial ambulance trunky. So we're using a new technology that creates an antibacterial environment for the plastic and the fabric and even the ink on the product, and we've launched that in the form of an ambulance. So that's hopefully going to give some customers who are worried about traveling a bit more confidence. And then we're not just about holiday, but about every day and what kids going to need walking out the house these days. And for us, really, we've been exploring face masks for a number of months, and we've created a product that quite often our products are. We come in when something's become really commoditized and just sells on price, and certainly masks at the moment are really cheap and they have no innovation and aren't actually very comfortable, certainly for kids to wear. So we've taken a look at that and created a really lightweight, breathable mask using high-tech sports fabrics. And they don't connect behind the ears because kids don't like that, and it's just a simple Velcro strap to connect around their heads. So funky, comfy, trunky face masks will be launching at the end of the month too. And we're just having to reinvent the business and reimagine the future at the moment. So lots of internal debates about where and how we want to take the business, and we're using it as an opportunity to basically rethink from the ground up.
There we go. Yeah.
Also, Vicky says that the trunky rucksack that she bought for her son was genuinely the single most brilliant thing she'd ever bought. So
it's probably our car seat backpack booster pack. Yeah, that's been a great success, which kind of was a similar eureka moment to the trunky that married a product that become really commoditized with trying to add real function and value to it. So yeah, that's been performing well.
So I'd like to pull up a question from Yarka, who's a financial expert, has worked in the event sector before she set up her own company, and she's recently set up a company called Stepping Stones Accountancy. So, and she's her journey is one from coming from another country in Eastern Europe with nothing, literally the price of a bus ticket pretty much, and landing in the UK, as it were, and building a business herself. And she's overcome enormous adversity, as it were. But she also has a young family, and she's asking, did you enjoy writing the book, and are you planning another one?
Well, the book adventure was quite an interesting one, but again, similar to Trunky, it kind of was rejected by a lot of publishers. No. So yeah, initially I just find storytelling such a powerful tool, and I wanted to tell my story a bit like a biography, but I'm not famous enough to do a biography, and the publishers wanted more of a business how-to, but I wanted to string the two together and make more of a page-turner that reads like fiction, although it's true. And I enlisted a ghostwriter called Dr. Peter Hughes, who is a marketer and a psychologist, and together we worked on fine-tuning my story to tell the best bits that would be most engaging and people could learn the most from. So yeah, there's real psychological insights into how I overcame this adversity. It was an incredible process to go through and learn from, and a great product to finally get out to the market. And it launched during COVID in July.
You've got some great testimonials and in the blurb inside cover, and people. I'm going to actually turn it around because it's like a who's who of industry here. So let's just pick Richard Reed, CBE. Rob Law's life is an inspirational lesson in humility and resilience. I've certainly felt that today. And that's Richard Reed, the co-founder of Innocent Drinks. And then Emma Jones, she's also got the MBE from Her Majesty as well. An inspiration to us all. We can all learn something from reading these powerful pages, lessons to apply in our business and in our life. So that's Emma Jones, the founder of Enterprise Nation, which obviously, for those of you who don't know, but supports businesses all over the UK, probably further afield now as well, puts on huge amounts of events all over the place. It's fantastic, brilliant business to have these people. Oh, and the founder of Ella's Kitchen, Paul Lindley, OBE. You have a Sunday Times, a business editor, talking about a poignant memoir filled with physical bravery, entrepreneurial focus, and a designer's determination. How does it feel when these enormous, hugely varied reviews here? How does it feel when? That was
great to get to reach out to my network and to get people's thoughts from the book. And fortunately managed to get pretty much 99% of them in just before lockdown and COVID hit, when everyone's mind then changed to how everyone was going to weather this storm.
I think we've got time for a couple more questions. But the good thing about streaming with LinkedIn, and I tagged the head of LinkedIn Live in one of the promotional postings, and one of the LinkedIn Live team members from Ireland is also hopefully watching as well, Stephen O'Brien. Just wanted to say a big shout out to Stephen O'Brien and Alana Smith in New York for supporting us getting this show up and running over the last few weeks. So I think we've got time for a couple more questions, Sarah. So please pick out a couple, and we can put those to Rob, and we'll look to wrap things up in a few minutes' time.
Okay, so we've got a question from Martin Lax. What is the most important thing to get right when setting up a successful business? We've had a few of those. What is the one thing that you need to get right when you're starting out a business?
Well, I think at the heart of any business, it's the customer. Who's your customer? And understanding that your proposition is the right one for that customer, and doing a lot of work on not just launching that product, but then listening to the customer moving forward. I guess once you've got that sort of right, then it's all about people and the people you've got to join you to get that product out, whether it be a service or whatever it may be, to more customers. So yeah, first and foremost, it's that consumer proposition. And secondly, it's then building that team.
Right.
Rob, you did product design, didn't you, at university, and you got a first. There you go. Were you always destined to become an entrepreneur, or is it something that you sort of came into a bit later, or did you go to university with a view to becoming an entrepreneur?
No, I had no ambition to be an entrepreneur. I never studied business at school. I just wanted to be, I found from an early age that I was quite creative. I also have dyslexia, so that was a real challenge in school. And I just found solitude in creating spaceships out of my Lego sets and then using woodworking tools. And then later on, I think when I was 14, I decided that I wanted to become a product designer when I was researching different design careers. And from that moment, I was laser focused on getting to the best university in the land, which was Northumbria University at the time, where Jonathan Ives of Apple fame had studied a few years prior. And I was very lucky to find, as what Ken Robinson says, finding your element. And that was my sole focus for many years. And then I kind of ended up, through sheer frustration, as quite often businesses start, not being able to get my product to market. I decided to have a go myself and quickly learned that business was about common sense and problem solving, which were two things I kind of had excelled at through product design. And then I had to learn about leadership and really embrace that challenge to try and get the people around me to run the business.
Talking about business, what sort of, I feel like I'm on Dragon's Den now asking you, what's your figures? But what was it, like they say, 2019 year ending 2019, what was it, if that's your financial year? How are the figures looking for turnover?
Yeah, so last year was about 9.5 million sterling.
Turnover, yeah. Wow, great. And you're in profit and in fine capital. Yeah. Good, that's really good news. I think we're all really pleased to hear that, especially, given the challenges you've talked about of late. Paul Harris there, I feel rich this morning, humility and humour. Thank you, Rob. I'm sure Paul won't mind me saying this. He worked for a company up until recently called Matilda's Planet and has overcome a very significant life-changing illness himself in the last year or two, and is way on the path to recover, I'm pleased to say. So nice to see you there, Paul. And Ian Porter, who's a former mayor, and looks after the well-being and the community of thousands of students at Weston College, which is effectively a university level college, tertiary college of secondary further education in Weston's Superman, in the southwest of England. He's saying great session. Coming from Ian, he's the most connected person I know. There's lots of people, I don't know here as well. Steve Evans here. What a story. That's great. And then look at Jan de Jong. There he is. So we've got lots of great chat going on there. So I think I'm going to ask from the house just one last question, if I may, and I think it's hopefully speaks to everybody, and it's more along the lines of the question in the talking point. And we've still got time now, if you'd like to post in the chat an inventor or innovator who's inspired you or who do you admire. Please do pop that in the chat, and also don't forget as well, if you like the comments that people have made, please do connect with that person. We're on LinkedIn. If you're watching YouTube, obviously you can't do that, but please do take part if you can and connect. And it's all about networking today. As Rob says, part of his book production is reaching out to his network. So your network is really important. It's almost like your net worth, perhaps more important even. So that last question, let me ask you, which is there an inventor or somebody who's innovative, who's certainly you admire, or inventors or innovators?
I think going through my more informative years of university, and I did a work placement when I was early 20s in New York, just as the iMac had been reinvented. And that was just incredible to see the power of product design. So Jonathan Ives of Apple was such a visionary from a product pioneering point of view. Don't want to get into his leadership style, but from a visionary for product and in partnership with Jonathan Ives to create these incredible products and to keep going one better, from the iPod to the iPhone, which just blew the mobile industry to pieces.
So 2002 and 1997, the iMac came out. Yeah. I went out and bought one of the Bondi Blues. I must say, I did a graphic design degree in the University of the West of England.
Oh, right.
And absolutely loved it. And there was an element of industrial design as well.
Yeah,
what was your sort of design? Did you focus on industrial design? Or
it was product design, industrial design. Yeah.
Where did you study?
At Northumbria University in Newcastle. Yeah.
Whereabouts are you from originally?
Just outside Chester, in the northwest. Yeah.
So what brought you down to the southwest of England? Was it?
It was a freelance job working for a design consultancy, and my best mate from uni was working there, and they were looking for a freelancer and put in a good word, and that job then went permanent. And I was working for big global brands like under Unilever, from Dove, Domestos, Persol for a couple of years. for this consultancy before I decided to hang up my designer's hat for a little while and just learn about business.
So it's a big early client, Unilever. It's one of the big ones, along with Diageo and Louis Vuitton company. That's a pretty good win early on, you know. So, well, look, you cited Sir Johnny, now a knight of the realm as well for his products, which he's created, which are phenomenal. And I certainly admired what he did. I'd graduated by that point, but I just love the design of Apple products, and I noticed it a lot. And obviously, it's part of my background, objects and antiques since I was very young. I've been interested in doing shows about. So, well, look, I think it's probably time to sort of wrap things up. But I think that given the sort of the year that I don't know anyone who's not been touched by the challenges of this year, is there some little bits of advice that you can offer myself, Sarah, businesses who are watching now, or when it's reposted on LinkedIn straight away? Thank you very much, LinkedIn, for that.
Yeah, we're going through very tough times. All businesses are. Even if you're excelling in these times, you've got to use your energy wisely. Don't worry about the things you can't control. There's a lot out there that we can't control. Use your energy wisely. Focus on the problems you can solve. Pivot your business. Be relevant to customers, and that will require some innovation and reimagineering sometimes. And yeah, you may have had a plan to get from A to B, but actually getting through the storm and getting to C is success. And recognize that as success and surviving, even though you hadn't got to where maybe you initially planned to. So yeah, use your energy wisely, and we'll get through this. We'll succeed. We'll get through, and we'll be in a new future where there are lots of opportunities.
Thanks so much, Rob. I'm just looking back. There's a slight time delay between what's going out live. It's about 15 seconds. And see, we're in a slightly convex lens on a wide angle here on talking of Macintosh, and my very nicely designed. We had to buy this to make sure that we could stream live. It's a very intense bit of software, but as a product design, we're using a MacBook Pro, and it's the brand new one with a very speedy clock, very powerful CPU, perfect for streaming. And we got our 2-camera shoot, which is my, if anyone's interested in podcasting, you can use a laptop camera, which is great. And then we got the wide angle lens up there for our 2-shot. But as a Macintosh, I just have to ask you, I've been a lifelong Mac fan since the early days. In fact, I used to teach Macintosh skills for Apple Macintosh, believe it or not, when I was a student, along with selling antiques at the weekend. What do you think about the Mac as it stands, as a piece of design? It's
kind of fantastic what they've done over the years, and they've kind of moved off the boil a bit more in recent years with not that much innovation coming out. But yeah, I think everyone's kicking themselves for not buying Apple shares way back in the day, aren't they?
Well, I'm going to chime in with an antiques tip, because I was watching the story of the iPod and the iPhone over the last 2 evenings on a Cold Fusion TV on YouTube, if you'd like to subscribe to that one. Really interesting young product designer, actually, and musician who creates that channel. It's very popular. It's got over 1 million subscribers now, I think. And it's fascinating watching the story of it. And, you know, another fellow inventor, Sir Johnny's cited quite a lot in that. Really recommend having a look at that story. And here we are using the Apple Mac to push go on this live streaming. So, well, look, Rob, you've been absolutely inspirational. The comments are just absolutely flooding in. And what can I say but thank you again for supporting the early days of my business, as you did at another business. And, you know, we wish you the very, very best of British luck with the new book, the new masks. Tell us about the masks. And I think you said they're in design at the moment. Is that right?
Yeah, you can register your interest on our website, trunky.co.uk, and they'll be launching hopefully by the end of the month. That's
brilliant. Well, look, Rob, we're going to jump back to a little wrap up for myself and Sarah. But I think from all of us here, it's a huge big thank you.
Thanks for tuning in.
Great. Okay, great. So we've had so much feedback here. I'm so grateful to you all for tuning in, to use old parlance, clicking, taking part, commenting, and just great to have so many comments. There's Mark Tyrrell, great story of resilience. So we've met Rob Law, MBE today. Do look out for his book. It is on Amazon. The second, I got a message from Rob a few months ago saying it was out, went straight on there and bought it, and it arrived the next day. I recommend a read. And I got myself a nice new signed, shiny copy of 65 Roses and a Trunky. Please do continue the chat. It doesn't end even when the show is reposted on LinkedIn. And if you're watching on our new YouTube channel, if you've got value from today, then please do like, comment, and subscribe. So just back to you, Sarah, for a closing thought, if that's okay. and then we will say a fond farewell not only to our guest, but also to our viewers today on the Biz Live. There you are, Sarah. Tell us.
Well, I'm sure everyone is struck by the fact that not only did Rob get rejected from Dragon's Den, but also he let us know that his book was also rejected by a number of publishers. So, you know, this is a real story of resilience and tenacity, of, you know, following his gut instincts and to never let those challenges get the better of him, to always just keep going. So I think, I'm sure everyone found that incredibly inspiring. Of course, that fun story about the corgi Trunky meeting the Queen's real corgis at Buckingham Palace. I mean, that's just a surreal kind of thought to contemplate. But as he just said then, don't worry about things you can't control. Be relevant to customers. Be flexible. You know, and as I was saying, you know, never give up. But, you know, this constant idea of innovation and adapting to the changing marketplace, especially in this current environment.
Great. Well, look, so much for co-producing the show today, Sarah. And obviously a big thank you, not only to our sponsor, hopefully Dean Ward, the principal, is tuning in, of DCW Group, but also to all of you who've taken part today and all of you who are watching on the restream and then on YouTube and maybe on an audio podcast in the near future as well. So it's a huge thank you from myself and Sarah, and obviously from all the team at Evo Business Networking who put on the show, and then Andrea and the team who've been making our guests feel so special today here at Origin in the city of Bristol in the UK. So if you've taken value from today, please do comment, please like, subscribe if you're on YouTube, and we will see you again at Tuesday. We will be announcing our guests very soon, so stay tuned. If you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, that's a good way to get an invitation to next week's show, which will be at 11:30 a.m. GMT. That's my old show. GMT. Still getting used to the international time zone. And I can reassure you that we will iron out Sarah's very surprising. Doesn't matter how many times we tested that green screen. Big shout out to Nigel. There we are. Finally, at minute number 1 hour and 9 minutes, we get the green screen right. We did spend a lot of time testing it. A big shout out to Nigel Pake of N3 Graphics in the UK for giving us a complimentary, very nice, extensive green screen. And it's our lighting which has failed, not Nigel's technology. So just at the very end, there you are in your fantastic virtual living room. We'll see you all very soon. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a look at Tuesday next week, 11:30 a.m. GMT on episode number 3 of the Biz Live, sponsored by DCW Group. Have a great week. I've got a 3-day holiday, first day off since the beginning of the lockdown. See you soon. Bye.